What time does the time start?
55, I believe.
Okay. So remind me when the time is coming up.
Right here.
I have.
Just keep a finger. That's how you don't lose.
You have an alarm soon? Okay, good. We have a guest this morning. Shalom Druin. He's here. Moshe's son.
Oh.
Okay. The average age went it was shifted. Okay, we're gonna start on the bottom of Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis, second to the bottom line.
You didn't meet or you had to?
No, I wasn't in town.
No.
Okay.
You're gonna be bored for a few minutes.
No, this is interesting stuff.
Okay. Okay, we thank Hashem that we're able to learn every day. And the schus of our learning, we should have the base of English. It says like this: Kol mitzvah seishas man grama chulu. Any positive mitzvah, any mitzvah that we're supposed to do, that has a specific time. So it says that women don't need to do those mitzvahs, chulu, etc. Tana Rabbana was taught in the Brisa. Is a mitzvah seishas man grama. What is considered a mitzvah seishas man grama? What is that? Positive command that is caused by time. Well, sukkah, sitting in a sukkah, lulav, shaking the lulav, shofar, blowing the shofar, tzitzis, wearing tzitzis. Why is tzitzis? It says a seishas man grama because it's only by day. It's a machlekes really in the Rishonim. If it means that it's only by day, if it's only by day clothing, it's only by day clothing, then you actually, if you wear day clothing by night, then it's chayav by night as well. That's a kasha. This here discusses that. And tefillin. Why is tefillin a mitzvah seishas man grama? Rashi says either because Lila's loves man tefillin or because Shabbos and Yom Tov. But whatever the case is, since there's a moment that it's exempt, so it's considered time bound. It's considered caused by time. So women are exempt from all of those mitzvahs that we just mentioned. Why yesterday did we blow the shofar for women? They just were lenient on them, lenient for them, to let us blow for them, even though they're really exempt. They accepted it on themselves. And then the blessing is machlekes, the Rambam and Taisus, if you're allowed to make a blessing when in such an instance. Ashkenazim say the blessings, and the Sephardim don't. What is a positive command that's not time bound? Well, mezuzah, Micah, Aveda, v'shiluach hakan, mezuzah, putting a mezuzah on the house. Micah is a fence on the roof. Aveda, finding a lost object, you have an obligation to return it. And shiluach hakan, which is sending away the mother bird. There's a positive mitzvah. There's also a negative mitzvah in there, but there's a positive mitzvah to send away the mother bird, and it's not bound by time. The Gemara asks, is this really a rule that every mitzvah that is time bound is exempt, and every mitzvah that's not time bound is chayev? Hari matzah, simcha, hakel, mitzvah seishas man grama v'nashim chayavis. Women have to eat matzah on Pesach. They don't have to sit in the sukkah, but on Pesach they have to eat matzah. Simcha, they're obligated. It actually says in the pasuk, it says v'samachta b'chagecha ato v'ncho vitecha. Your daughter. See, women are obligated. And by hakel, it says anashim nashim v'taf. It says nashim in there, that the women are obligated. Those are mitzvahs seishas man grama, and women are chayiv. So we have another question. What about studying Torah? What about the mitzvah to have children? Turns out that the mitzvah to have children, according to the majority opinion, is only on the man to have a child. Of course, he needs a woman to assist him, but the obligation would be on the man to get married to have the children. And Pidin Ben, which we learned before, was a mitzvah only on the father. Remember, we had Tifta, Tipad, only the one that's obligated to be redeemed is obligated to redeem, and then we said, so who's obligated? Oh yeah. So they're exempt. We're seeing mitzvahs that are not time bound. Ben only starts from a month. It's not considered time bound, and nevertheless, women are exempt. Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan says, I know there's exceptions to these rules, and ein lamedim min haklalos. When you have a Mishnah that says certain rules, you can't say that that's the 100% and there's no exceptions. And even if the Mishnah says that this is the rule and the exception is such and such, you should know that there could be other exceptions. The Tanan, because we have a Mishnah that says it says that you're allowed to use anything to make an eruv except for water and salt. And the Gemara says, Suleka, really? That's the only exception is water and salt. Can't an eruv, we're not talking about the string. There's a string, but we're also talking about there's food that's placed in one of the shoals or someone's house. It would be a courtyard or something like that. It's considered like it's a meal altogether. Like everyone joins together as if it's one big family, the whole city or the whole courtyard or the whole whatever. So you can use anything for the eruv except for water and salt for that food, because that's not considered sustaining food. Umar says, what about mushrooms and truffles, which also are not considered nourishing foods? And nevertheless, and those are also not the rule. So the Gemara says, "Allah ein lamedim min haklal." This is Rabbi Yochanan's rule. That ein lamedim min haklal, you can't learn out from those general statements. Even when it looks like it's very specific, because it says with the exception of. Oh wow.
Rose Smith.
Yeah.
That's quickly. Where are you guys holding?
We're in the middle of Lamed Dalet Amud Aleph. We're a little bit behind. We didn't learn over Rosh Hashanah. So 34a. Okay. Now the Gemara says, Mitzvah Seishas Man Gram Anashim Turis. That's a quote from the Mishnah. Mitzvah Seishas Man Gram Anashim Turis. Positive command that.
What about Sefer Torah? Sefer Torah is not
right. So probably the Chayiv, unless it's dependent on to learn it. The mitzvah is to learn it. Ramesh is asking, what about the mitzvah to write a Sefer Torah? Women obligated.
I think they have a mitzvah of the writing. It's like they kind of it's a sport.
Okay. The positive command that's time bound, women are exempt. Minalan. How do we know this? This Gemara is going back to things that we've accepted as facts. The Gemara is going to say, well, where did you get this from? So how do we know that women are exempt from these basic mitzvahs that are time bound? So the Gemara says, Gamar mitfilin, we learn it from tefillin. How do we know tefillin? Let's see. Ma tefillin ashim beturis, avkol mitzvahs man gram ashim beturis. Just like tefillin, it's this binyan av, it's a gezant. A binyan av means we have a precedent. Just like we find by tefillin that women are exempt, and tefillin is time bound. Why is tefillin time bound? We said it's either you don't have to wear tefillin by night, or according to the opinions that you do have to wear tefillin by night, biblically, according to those opinions. Shabbos and Yom Tov, you don't have to wear tefillin. So we learn from tefillin. The Gemara says, but how do you know tefillin? Well, tefillin gamalami Talmud Torah. Tefillin we learn from Talmud Torah. Now Talmud Torah we already know women are exempt for, because it says yeah, that we had a few pages back that you have to teach your son's Torah, but you don't have to teach your daughter's Torah. Well, now we're learning from Tefillin. We're learning from Tefillin, and we know Tefillin from Talmud Torah. Ma Talmud Torah Nashim B'Turas. Af Tefillin Nashim B'Turas. See, we can't learn directly from Talmud Torah because Talmud Torah is not time bound. So we're learning from Talmud Torah to Tefillin, and Tefillin, which is time bound, tells me that all other mitzvahs that are time bound, women are exempt. The Gemara says, 1 second. V'nakish Tefillin Mezuzah. Why are you comparing Tefillin to Talmud Torah and therefore telling me that women are exempt? Maybe Tefillin should be compared to Mezuzah. So where would we have this comparison? So it goes like this. In the first parsha of Shema, it says, and then it says, so right next to the section, the verse that discusses studying Torah, it says about wearing tefillin. And then after that verse, it says, that you should write it on your doorpost. So you see, the tefillin is in the center. So you could learn it back to Torah. You could learn it that it's compared to mezuzah. If it's compared to mezuzah, women are obligated. If it's compared to Torah, women are exempt. Who told you to go to go backwards and not ahead? Gemara says, well, tefillin l'talmud Torah yiskish bein b'parsha rishon and bein b'parsha shniya. Tefillin l'mezuzah b'parsha shniya leyiskish. What happens is when you come to V'hayim Shemaya, so then you have limadat meisim espenichem l'daber bam, ukshartem leisa yadecha, ve'elatet spinina. No, they have ukshartem leisa yadchem, ve'elatet spininechem, v'limadat meisim espenichem. You have tefillin first, then you have Talmud Torah, and then when you finish with the Talmud Torah, you have mezuzah. So in the second portion of Shema, tefillin and mezuzah are not together. So it says tefillin and mezuzah in the second portion aren't connected. Okay. Now the Gemara says, so it seems like we have our answer. That tefillin is compared to Talmud Torah because in both portions it's connected. It says v'nakish mezuzah la Talmud Torah. Maybe you should have tried the other way. How do you know that the precedent that you're going to learn from is going to be from tefillin, which is time bound to Talmud Torah? Maybe the precedent should be that mezuzah is compared to Talmud Torah because in which portion of Shema is mezuzah connected to Talmud Torah? The second portion of Shema, mezuzah is connected to Talmud Torah. Maybe women should be exempt from all positive commands, not just commands at a time, because mezuzah is not time bound. So it says that is an impossibility. Why? It says after the portion of mezuzah, it says so that you should have long life. It says gavri boichai, nashi loy boichai. Women need to live long, and the men need to live long. Women don't need to live long. Obviously, women need to live long also, which means that women obviously are chayiv and mezuzah. That we don't have a question about. So the only thing is, what about mitzvahs that are time bound? So the example would be tefillin. That would be our precedent, and that we said that women are exempt because we compared to Talmud Torah. Bari sukkah the mitzvah seishas man grama the sukkah shivas yamim. I know that sukkah is a time bound mitzvah. It says that you have to dwell in a sukkah for 7 days. That means that it's only 7 days. It's time bound. Time of the kasrach mana ha'ezrach. But then it says kol ezrach b'Yisrael yeshu b'sukkahs. It says all the settlers in Israel should dwell in a sukkah, and the Gemara learns from that ha'ezrach, that extra word ha'ezrach, is lohaitzias hanashim. It's coming to exclude women. Now the question is like this: we have a precedent from tefillin that women are exempt from time-bound mitzvahs. So why do I need a special pasuk by sukkah to tell me that women are exempt? They're exempt already because we have a precedent from tefillin. We know that they're exempt from all time-bound mitzvahs. I don't need a special pasuk to exclude them for sukkah. It says halav hachi nashim chayavas. Obviously, if not for that pasuk, women would be obligated. Why should they be obligated? They're exempt from all the mitzvahs, all the time-bound mitzvahs. Amar Abaya says it's true. By sukkah, we had to specially say that women are exempt. Why? Because Salkadait Chamina could have entered your mind to say, even though by all positive mitzvahs that are time-bound, women are exempt anyway. But I could have thought sukkah would be chayiv. It says in sukkahs you should dwell. And the Gemara says on that, Teshu ken taduru. They have to live in the sukkah the way you live in the house. Just like how do you live in the house? Madira ishvishte, just like the way you live in the house as husband and wife. Have sukkah ishvishte. Also in the sukkah, the obligation would be husband and wife. They could have thought that. So it comes along the pasuk and says to Ezra that we have to take it out. In other words, logic could have put it back in. So I need a pasuk to take it out. That's the answer from Abaya. Rav Amar, Rava answers. Abaya and Rava give a different answer here. So it's necessary to say by sukkah that women are exempt. Very interesting thing about sukkahs, that the first night of sukkahs, you're obligated to eat in the sukkah no matter what, right? Even if it's raining, and this, and the obligation comes from, where do we have that obligation? It says 7 days you should eat in the sukkah. What's special about the first night? So it says that be'erev teichel matzahs, it says on the night of the 15th you should eat matzah, the 15th of Nisan. And then it says Chamisha Asar, it says by Sukkot, which is also the 15th. And the Gemara learns that just like over there, there's an obligation to eat matzah. So too, on the 15th of Tishrei, there's an obligation to eat in the sukkah. Not matzah in the sukkah, but the obligation to eat in the sukkah. There's an opinion actually that holds that you should have leavened bread if it doesn't have any. It's not supposed to be matzah, but it's supposed to be exactly what that is. 5 minutes till the fast begins.
That's how I wake up.
Okay. So the Prima Gadam writes, says you could add salt, but you shouldn't have anything else in the challah. It should be just plain, basically like pita bread. It's chametz, but anyway. So we have this gzer shava that you have to eat in the sukkah. There's a discussion if what the gzer shava really means. So does it mean that you have to eat a kazayas in the sukkah? It doesn't mean that you have to dwell in the sukkah. The difference is if you have to be in the sukkah when it's not raining. Now, if you eat in the sukkah in the rain, is that considered like you fulfill the chamishasa? Or it's only a proper dwelling in the sukkah, which you wouldn't be chayiv. So in other words, you have to go back out when the rain stops. Or is it the eating or is it the dwelling? That's the question. Is it the eating or the dwelling? Well, Chabad always is in the rain the whole sukkah. The first night. The first night, everyone eats in the sukkah no matter what. Where do we get that from? Chamishasa. So we get it from Pesach, because on Pesach you have to eat matzah. The whole Pesach you don't have to eat matzah. You're just not allowed to eat bread. But on the first night you have to eat matzah. You know, if you want to eat avocados and potatoes, the whole Pesach, you're fine. Right? Well, just like on Pesach, malala nashim chayavis, avkan nashim chayavis, also for sukkahs, women are obligated. So tzricha, so it's necessary to tell me that they're exempt from eating in the sukkah even the first night. Women don't have to do that. Follow? I could have thought that the gzeir shava for matzah extends to sukkahs with women, just like they're obligated in matzah, they're also obligated in sukkah. So the pasuk tells me that they're not obligated. Now, how do we know they're obligated in matzah? So that the Gemara learns because kol sheyeshnei not to eat chametz. Anyone that's not allowed to eat chametz is also obligated to eat matzah. And since not to eat chametz is a negative command, women are of course obligated to know the negative commands, not allowed to kill and steal and all of that. They're also not allowed to eat chametz on Pesach. So they're also
killing Mrs. Mon grandma and then there's women.
Yeah, that would make for a good movie. So I could have thought that women would be obligated because they're obligated to eat matzah. So it tells me Ezra. Okay, Bari Ria is referring to being Oila Regal. The mitzvah says man grandma, it's time bound. If it's time bound, they should automatically be exempt. The time of the Kasrachman is and the reason why they're exempt is because the pasuk says, "Shalish Bam Bashani Rakol Zechorcha." It says all the male. Zechorcha means the males. All the men are obligated. If not for that, we would say that the women are obligated. I had to have a special pasuk that tells me who's obligated. Now, if women are exempt anyway, why do I need the pasuk? Okay. Gemara says it's true. It's necessary. I mean, I could have entered. It could have entered your mind to say Nelef Ria Mihakal. What's Ria? Going to the base of Mikdash. I would learn going to the base of Mikdash from Hakel. What happens by Hakel? The men, women, and children. So I could have thought that women would be obligated to go to the base of English for the 3 holidays, the pilgrim holidays as well. So comes along the pasuk to teach me Zechorcha that they don't have to go for the pilgrimage. Okay. Now the Gemara asks, Vadi alfinan mitfilin leptura nelef misimcha lechiyuva. Once we learned that, not once, but in place of learning that all women are exempt from positive mitzvahs that are time-bound because we have a precedent of tefillin, which we know is a time-bound mitzvah, and women are exempt. We learned from Talmud Torah that women are exempt. Maybe we should go the other way. Maybe we should say that women are obligated in time-bound mitzvahs because we have a precedent that they're obligated. What's that precedent? Simcha. And a holiday, which is time-bound, holidays only come around the holidays, and women are obligated to rejoice. It says that B'samachta ata, what it says, ata bin v'ger v'yasem alman. It has all the things. Where's the pasuk? Ata bin chavitacha. Okay, so the Gemara says on this, Amar Abaya answers, Isha Baila Mesamcha, which sounds like that a woman is not actually obligated in Simcha. The obligation is on the husband to gladden his wife, his daughters, on the holiday. Now, the only problem is that if you read further in the pasuk, it says "V'hager v'yasem almana." It says the convert, the orphan, and the widow. If the husband is obligated to gladden his wife, but the wife isn't really obligated to rejoice, it's only that obligation on the husband to buy her jewelry or whatever she likes for the holiday. Almana ma'ikala meimar.
It says v'somachta, doesn't say v'simachta. Simachta means your obligation is to.
Problem. Ramesh is asking that if it would have meant that you're obligated to gladden, then it would have said v'simachta, not v'samachta. Samach is just an active verb, not a causative. Simach is actually a PL, but that could be used to also as a causative. Well, that's a question. Whatever the case is, Abaya answers, Bishriya Esley. We're talking about over here by the widow. Almana Ma'iklamem, it says Bishriya. So we're talking about a widow that you're taking care of because she's a poor widow and you're giving her tzedakah. So as the mitzvah of tzedakah, you're giving her the whatever she needs.
That makes her happy.
Right. The Gemara says v'nelef mi hakel. Hakel is also time bound, and hakel is the women as well. So maybe women should be obligated in all positive commands, just like they're obligated in time-bound commands. It says Mishum Davi Matzah v'Hakel Shneiksum Abam Kechad. Chol Shneiksum Abam Kechad Ein Malamdim. We have this interesting rule, which is going to take us through the next page or two. If you want to use a precedent to teach me that this is the law, so for example, if you're going to use a precedent that says that women are going to be obligated in all time-bound mitzvahs, because we find one place in the Torah that they're obligated. So then, what the Gemara does is it brings another time that we find that they're obligated in time-bound mitzvahs, and it says, one second, if they're obligated in time-bound mitzvahs because of a precedent, then why do we need another precedent? obviously it's not, the precedent doesn't really work. So that's called Shnei Ksuvim Habam Kechad. And there's machlekes if how this works, but according to most opinions, Shnei Ksuvim Habam Kechad Ein Malamdim, that you can't learn from that. If it would have been a precedent, you wouldn't have had a second one. So the Gemara says, why don't we learn from Hakel? So it says because matzah, which is a time-bound mitzvah, women are obligated, and Hakel, which is a time-bound mitzvah, women are obligated. Now that we have two, it cancels it out, and we can't learn from them. Yeah, you would think it would get stronger. That you have two precedent. No, it's not true. It's the opposite.
Here's a proof that the word of Torah is like the one word is you.
Yeah.
You don't need to have 2, 3 words. It
Right.
says it once.
Right. Science in science, you have one sample. That doesn't mean anything. We need like a whole, right? Over here, one sample is what teaches me everything. If you have two, then it means that it's not. You can't learn from that. Okay. Ihachi, that's the case. You can't learn that women are obligated in time bound because you have two samples. You have two precedents, matzah and hakel. Tefillin v'riya nami shnei ksuvim habam kechad bein malamdim. I have two examples where they're exempt from time bound mitzvahs. Tefillin, I know they're exempt. And Riyah, I know they're exempt because it says Zechorcha. It says only the men. Shouldn't be able to learn to everything else. It says Tzriche. It says no. It would only be considered two precedents. If it would have said one, I wouldn't have known I would have automatically known the other one. But if it would have said one of them, I wouldn't have known the other one. So then it has to say the other one. So then I could learn from it. So Dikas Rachman Tzriche, it's necessary to say both of them. Dikas Rachman Tefillin, if it would only say Tefillin Lekas and it didn't say that women are exempt from going to the temple for the pilgrimage. Hava I mean Elef Riyah mi Hakel. Could have thought that I should learn Riyah from Hakel. That just like by Hakel, like we've mentioned before, that just like by Hakel, women are obligated. It says men, women, and children. I could have thought that going to the pilgrimage should have been women as well. So therefore, it has to say Riyah. So I know it needs to say that, but maybe it only needs to say that one, and don't say Tefillin. Because Rachman Riyah v'leikas of Tefillin. If it wouldn't have said Tefillin, so hava min akish Tefillin the mezuzah. I could have thought maybe Tefillin should be compared to mezuzah, like we've mentioned before. And now it doesn't actually say Tefillin. What it means is maybe you shouldn't have put Tefillin next to Talmud Torah twice. By doing that, so it says if you wouldn't have done that, then I would have done Tefillin, which is next to mezuzah, and then I would have said Tefillin is obligated for women. Women are obligated in Tefillin. So therefore, Tzricha, I needed to say Tefillin next to Talmud Torah twice to teach me that Tefillin is, women are exempt from Tefillin, just like they're exempt from Talmud Torah. Okay. If that's the case, Matzah v'Hakel nami Tzrichi. Why did you say you can't learn from Matzah and Hakel to tell me that women are obligated in time-bound mitzvahs? Because they have two precedents, and you can't learn from two precedents. 1 second. It's not really two precedents, because if it would have said one, I wouldn't have known the other one. Why is it necessary? If it would have said Hakel, they wouldn't have said Matzah. Women are obligated to come. They wouldn't have said that they're obligated to eat the matzah. You could have thought that we would have done it the opposite. By Sukkos, I would have thought that since women are exempt from Sukkah, how do we know? Because it says Ezrach. Ezrach is exclusive women. So I could have thought, well, there's a comparison between matzah and Sukkah. Usually that comparison went the other way. That just like on Pesach you have to eat matzah, so to the first night of Sukkot you have to eat in the Sukkah. But we would have done it the other way. But it said just like Sukkot, women are exempt. So to matzah, women are exempt. That's what I could have thought. If it wouldn't have told me that women are obligated in matzah since they have to eat, since they're not allowed to eat chametz, they're also obligated to eat matzah. But why doesn't it just say matzah? And then I would have known already that hakel women are obligated. But no, Amina, I would have thought to failim, taf. How do you say? Failim chayavim nashim lekolshkein. If the children are obligated, for sure the women are obligated. So I wouldn't have even need to say it. Just would have said anashim v'taf. And I would have known that the nashim, the women, are obligated. Why do you have to say that? By Hakel. Yeah. It says men, women, and children are obligated to
I think
come.
Rashi like it's for the sake of parents.
Oh, Rashi says what it says over there is if everyone's going anyway. So,
Just like
of course, who's going to stay with the children? Of course, the children are going to. Well, I'm giving you an interpretation over there. It's not the little interpretation is that why are the children going? Why are the children going? The answer is to give reward to those that bring them. That's what Rashi said. But the commentators want to learn it like this. They want to learn that if everyone's going, they're not going to leave the children. The children are going to go along anyways. Why do you even have to give them a mitzvah? They're going to be there. It says no. Hashem made it a mitzvah. Of course, the children are going to, but Hashem made it a mitzvah to give reward. Because if it's a mitzvah, you get a reward, even though you're going to do it anyway. Like if there's a mitzvah to breathe. Oh, look at all these mitzvahs I'm getting. Okay. So, okay, so Hilkach, therefore, since it's not necessary to say Hakel, that women are obligated, so therefore, so since Hakel is not necessary, so that's really a precedent, a double precedent. It says by Tefillin, and it also says by Hakel, so which wasn't necessary. So that's teaching me that I can't learn from there. Once you can't learn, did I say Tefillin? It says by Matzah, and it says by Hakel. Those are two sources that teach me that women should be obligated in time-bound mitzvahs. I can't learn from there, and it comes out that women are really exempt from time-bound mitzvahs. This all works according to that one opinion, or that majority opinion, that holds that if you have two verses that are teaching you something, you can't learn from other places. It's not considered a precedent. But according to the other opinion that says that you can learn from there, what are they going to say? How do we know that non-time-bound mitzvahs women are obligated?
I didn't know that there was an opinion.
Yeah, we're going to learn that in a minute. It's going to come
over
up.
here. It didn't say that there was.
No, it didn't say it. You're right. You're right. It hits us later. So the Gemara says, well, the Gemara ignores the first question, and it says, how do we know that mitzvahs say that there's not time bound? Which, for examples, was the roof on the fence and the mezuzah and all of those. How do we know women are obligated? It says the Yalaf Mimayra. We learn it from fear of a father. It says Ish imay v'aviv tira'u. It says in a plural tira'u. A man, his father and his mother should fear. His mother and his father should fear. And then it says, not he should fear, but you all should fear. Tira'u, you all should fear. So, which is, the Gemara before said, that's teaching me that boys and girls are obligated. So, ma'amayr nashim chayavas, afkol mitzvah, shalayas man grama, nashim chayavas. That's not man grama. That's all the time. So, therefore, women should be obligated in all non-time bound mitzvahs. Gemara says, "V'neilef mi Talmud Torah." Maybe they should be exempt from non-time bound mitzvahs, just like Talmud Torah, which is not time bound. You're always a mitzvah to learn Torah, except the nittel nach. No, that doesn't count. So and maybe women should be exempt from all time. That we have a precedent. Talmud Torah it says no. Mishum dehavli Talmud Torah it comes out like this. In other words, we're getting into this trap again because we're going into this only one opinion that holds us. But we're saying that since I have Talmud Torah, which is not time bound, it's always obligated to study Torah, and I have the mitzvah of period of having children, also not time bound, always obligated to have children. Well, even if you're fulfilling the mitzvah, see, time bound means that you're not that you fulfill the mitzvah and then you're exempt. Time bound means that it's time, which is the requirement. So those are two precedents. And what's the rule when you have two precedents? That you can't learn from it. You can only learn from one precedent. Because if you needed If one precedent, if it was considered a precedent, you wouldn't have needed the second one.
That's not other boy.
That's not the other boy.
No, it's the other boy.
That was the traffic.
Look, I don't know about you, but I ate up until I could, eat and drink. And anyway, my dog was fast. I've been with the sheep.
We know that.
I learned it ahead of time. So the second time.
Exactly on the top of Lamed Hey. So we're saying now that you can't learn we can't learn that mitzvahs say shalayas man grama. Women should be exempt from it, even though we have examples where they are. Because we have two examples where they're exempt. Those two examples are Talmud Torah and Brua Revu. So therefore, you can't learn from it.
So still, he's bringing the one opinion.
It's only according to the opinion that holds. What about according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka? What about according to him? He says that Hashem blessed them and be fruitful and multiply. Is referring to Adam and Chava, which means that the command to have children is not only on Adam, that Adam has to convince Chava to have children so that he can fulfill his mitzvah, but that Chava also has a mitzvah to fulfill the mitzvah. Chava doesn't need any convincing. She has her. She's obligated. So according to that, what are we going to say? We don't have a second precedent that messes up the limud, right? We have only Talmud Torah that says women are exempt. That should be a precedent. Brua Revu is not a second precedent that tells me I only have one precedent. Should learn that women are exempt from all non-time-bound mitzvahs. Umar says no, because Mishum Dahavi Talmud Torah Pidina Ben because we have Pidina Ben, and we learned before that Pidina Ben, women are exempt from Pidina Ben.
And so from there, you're saying that women are exempt from Puru.
No, this is machlekes if women are exempt from Puru. Okay, now if they are not exempt from Puru, okay, so now I have the exemption of women from non-time bound mitzvahs is by Talmud Torah, and also by Pidina Ben. So I have two examples where they're exempt, and if I have two examples, I can't learn from there. Therefore, women would be obligated. Right now, we're holding where this is what we're assuming Mishnah that women are obligated in non-time bound mitzvahs. We have some examples where we see they're exempt. But we can't learn from those examples. Why? Because we have two examples. Two examples means you can't learn. Let's go the other way. Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka says women are obligated in Puru Revu. We also know that women are obligated in Mayra of the father and mother, fear of the father and mother. We have two examples of women being obligated in mitzvahs that are not time bound. What's the rule if you have two examples? You can't learn from there. How could you tell me we're learning from Mayra, from fear? That tells me that women are obligated in time-bound mitzvahs. But I have another example, Puru Revu, which is a non-time-bound mitzvah. And according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka, women are obligated. So you shouldn't be able to learn from there. The Gemara says, the way you get out of the way you get out of that is you say that if it would have said one, the other one I wouldn't have known. So it's not considered like I have two precedents that aren't necessary. No, each one was necessary. So it's necessary. If it would have just said that fear of father and mother, wouldn't have said that the women are obligated to be fruitful and multiply. It says that you should have children and conquer the world, right? Should conquer the world. The way of a man is to conquer, and the way of a woman is not to conquer. So which means that women should really be exempt. If it wouldn't have told me clearly that women are obligated, I would have thought that they're exempt, because the follow-up of the pasuk after you have children and what happens then, and then right, the follow-up of the pasuk only applies to men. should be exempt. So therefore, it has to say that women are obligated to have children. Because of period for review, let's say it would have said the other way. Would have said peru revu, women are obligated, but it wouldn't have said tira'u, that they all have to fear the father and mother. I would have thought only the men would have to fear. Why would I have done that? Because havamina ish to sipik biadilasa is, would have thought that men that have no one telling them not to do it, not to take care of their parents. And so that would have been in. It would have been, they are obligated. But isha dain sipik biadilasa, but a woman, not necessarily does her husband want to have her parents coming to live with them, and says that she should, take care, do all of that stuff. So it could be that it's going to be times when she's not going to be obligated because her husband's going to take priorities, which means she's going to be exempt from that. So since there's times when she's exempt, maybe she should always be exempt. We should just remove the whole obligation from a woman because there's going to be times when she's going to be exempt. So therefore, since I could have thought that, so it's necessary to say no, she really is obligated. If she's exempt, she's exempt, but the obligation's still there. So it needed to say it. Once it needs to say it, then it doesn't mean that I can't learn from there because I have two of them. Really, I can learn from there. I'm talking about non-time bound mitzvahs that women are obligated.
I don't understand when it says, since for obligations to a husband may prevent her from doing so.
Yeah. Obligations to her husband may prevent her from taking care of her father or mother.
Oh, her own.
Okay, we ignored the question that we asked before, and we only made it stronger. The question before was, this only fits with the opinion that says that if you have two precedents, you can't learn from that. And so that we've established the rules that we set up in the Mishnah. But according to the other opinion that says that if you have two precedents, you're still able to learn, what are you going to say? Amar Rava says, Papanai Yadalataima. There's these people from Papanai. Rashi says it's Ravacha Bar Yaakov, lived in Papanai. There was a Ravacha Bar Yaakov before that sent his son to yeshiva. That saw that he wasn't doing well, so he said, "You stay here, I'm going to go." Remember, that was Ravacha Bar Yaakov. So he says that he knows the reason for this. Umanu Ravacha Bar Yaakov. Who is it? Oh, the Gemara says.
So what's this Rashi saying?
Right. What happened over there was, how do we know he's from Papanai? Because he's quoting the Gemara Nashatzvim that says, Rav Acha Bar Yaakov taught in Papuna that the Satan and who was it? The Satan and Penina L'Shem Shemayim Neskavna. Penina was taunting Chana. She really wanted her to daven. She wanted her to daven more, and that's why she was taunting her.
What about the Satan?
I don't remember what the Satan was. Anyone remember over there? What does it say?
General ruling that the
Look at the
Satan.
last sentence. Satan.
Benashki Akari, the Satan was very happy and kissed him on his feet.
Maybe that's just.
No,
No,
it's just
story.
Rashi just bringing it to tell me that it was from Papuna.
But you said what was the Satan?
Yeah, well, what did he do?
Yeah, that's
Somehow
So
he
kissed
said
his
something.
feet.
No.
his feet.
He said something that was flattering to the Satan. Okay. Maybe in general that the Satan
That's
is
what I was just
doing
saying, that
doing
maybe
the will of
That
Hashem.
all of his doing is.
Well, he knows the reason for this, and he says, "Amar Kra." The pasuk says, It says that the tefillin should be a sign on your arm, and it should be a remembrance between your eyes, so that the Torah should be in your mouth, which means that huksha kol Torah kula tefillin. The whole Torah is compared to tefillin. Ma tefillin mitzvah man goram of nashim b'turais. Just like by tefillin, it's a mitzvah say, passive command, and it's time bound. Why is it time bound? Because it's not on Shabbos, and it's possibly also only by day. So to all other time bound mitzvahs, women should be exempt. And once they're exempt from positive commands that are time bound, obviously, they would be obligated in other mitzvahs that are time bound, that are not time bound. I'm sorry. Once it's time bound, they're exempt. Not time bound, they're obligated. This only fits according to the opinion that says tefillin is a mitzvah shazman grama that's time bound. There's an opinion that holds tefillin is obligated by night. What are you going to say? Who's the one that holds that? That tefillin is a mitzvah say that is not time bound. They're always obligated. It's Reb Meir. It's the opinion of Reb Meir. What does he say? Sure. Oh yeah. Okay. In there, in a spread over there about them by the chapter of if you find tefillin on Shabbos or something. So
Why
the
does
Sabbalah.
Meir say you put on tefillin at night?
Yeah, he holds that's the obligation that night as well.
It's
And I guess he also
interesting
holds
with
on
his
Shabbos as
name,
well.
Meir. You know, by him,
Is it?
it's no Mila, it's always.
And man shamal adam tzumet say shleis man gamra Meir. The Sabbalah shnei ksub mabam keachad. B'chol shnei ksub mabam keachad in malamdim. He also holds that this would be. One second. Tefillin would be a mitzvah say shleis man grama. Oh, he's going to learn from it if you're obligated to wear tefillin. If women are exempt from tefillin, right? And tefillin is not time bound, according to Reb Meir. It's going to come out is that I won't be able to use. We're learning now from tefillin. We're learning now from tefillin that tefillin is compared to the whole Torah, and just like the tefillin is mitzvah seishas man grama, women are exempt. So to everywhere else, in other words, I have a special limud that it's not just a. We had a problem. Our problem was a question. How did we get into this? The question was that shnei ksuv mabam kechad. There's an opinion that holds shnei ksuv mabam kechad malamdim, that I can learn from two that are together. Which two would teach me? So I have matzah and riyah, right? Matzah and hakel, right? Matzah and riyah, matzah and hakel. Matzah women are obligated. It's not matzah. It's riyah, which they're exempt, and tefillin that they're exempt. Those would be two time-bound mitzvahs, right? Those would be two time-bound mitzvahs. The problem is with that is that we said, oh, you can't learn from that to anywhere else. So we said, no, we needed. I said matzah and hakel are two time-bound mitzvahs, and we can't learn from there. Okay, matzah and hakel are two time-bound mitzvahs. We can't learn from there, and women are obligated. But then we had two time-bound mitzvahs that women are exempt from. That would be riyah and tefillin. So but the problem is that according to Reb Meir, okay, so we had. What do we do about the other opinion that says malamdim? It says that you can learn it even from those, the ones that to tell us that they're obligated. The ones that would tell us that they're obligated. We said, but we had two of them that tells me that they're not obligated. So we answered that Reb Meir holds you can't ask kasha on Reb Meir because Reb Meir holds ein malamdim. So that's his opinion. Once you attribute a name to it, then we can follow his view all the way through. Gemara says now, Rabbi Yehuda Damar Sneiksam Abam Kechan Malamdan. What about according to Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yehuda holds that 2 verses you still can learn from a precedent. And tefillin mitzvah shalayas man grama. And he also holds like Reb Meir that tefillin is a mitzvah shalayas man grama, that you're obligated on Shabbos and by night. Mayikla meimar. What's he going to say? He holds that you actually can learn from it's basically what's going to come out now is that you have even non-time bound mitzvahs that women are exempt from. And he holds you can learn from that. It says, Mishum dahavali matzah simcha v'hakel shleishik sumabam kechad. According to what he's going to say is that I have 3 mitzvahs. You see, even if you hold two precedents you can't learn from, but he's going to agree that 3 you could learn from. So, even though it's 2 you can learn from, but 3 you cannot learn from. So what are the 3? Matzah, which is a time-bound mitzvah, women are obligated. Simcha, he's going to not answer Abaya's answer. He's going to hold, we answered before that the men are obligated to gladden their wives, but not that the women themselves are. He's going to hold that the women themselves are obligated in Simcha. That's another one. And then Hakel, which women are obligated. So therefore, we have 3 time-bound mitzvahs that women are obligated from, and he's going to say that you can't learn from them. And okay, we'll leave it over here. Okay.
When Mayor says that you put on tefillin all day, like it's even
Rabbi,
reminds me